It's 2023 and WWE is great again. No, seriously, it's really, really good. I'm talking Emmy material because the Bloodline is in the midst of a 3-year storyline that's WWE's best work, and you need to be watching again if you're not already, because ratings have been sky high, but we'll get to that soon enough. Whenever I tell people I write about wrestling for a living, I always get the same response. Oh, I used to watch that stuff. I was huge into wrestling in the 90s. Are the Macho King and Hank Hogan still wrestling? I loved those guys as a kid. Wrestling doesn't have nearly the following it did in its peak, but on the strength of its top storyline, the Bloodline, you can argue that it's never been better. WWE in the Attitude Era is seen as the most successful period in wrestling history, but that's because WWE had its two biggest stars, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. The Rock and Austin led a talented cast of stars to defeat WCW, and at its peak, before streaming fractured TV audiences, WWE Raw drew just under 10 million viewers. WWE was on fire in the 90s, but a lot of their storylines were ass. Don't get me wrong, WWE's main event, and even some of its mid-carders, ordered up entertaining angles and segments, but nobody was clamoring for Mae Young giving birth to a hand to win an Oscar. Nobody saw DX in blackface and thought, give those white Africans an Essence Award. Val Venis really got his dick chopped off in these streets. Fast forward to 2023, and WWE is in another boom period, but one that you don't have to be embarrassed about when your friends or wife walk into the room. In fact, you might want to hide your wife from Roman Reigns because as a heterosexual man, I can objectively say that the head of the table is a heartthrob. Pause. The Bloodline Story in WWE has been an epic saga led by Reigns, who finally turned heel in 2020 after years of being a square peg of a babyface in the round hole of WWE's stubborn fan base. No matter how many WrestleManias he main evented as a babyface, there was always pushback from fans who just weren't buying it. Like Jay-Z in a diss track that was way better than Ether, they said, "We don't believe you, you need more people." So that's exactly what Reigns did. He found more people. He recruited his family and formed a team, a tribe if you will. Roman Reigns is a tribal chief of the Bloodline, the alpha, the head of the table, the motherfucking law. What Roman says goes. He rules with such an iron fist, he now has the same hand as Thanos. The Bloodline starts and ends with the tribal chief, and if you cross Roman Reigns, he'll gaslight you right out of the tribe. Roman Reigns has been WWE Universal Champion for over 1,000 days, and there's no end in sight. Maybe, probably WrestleMania 40 against top babyface Cody Rhodes, but it's anybody's guess. Led by Reigns, the Bloodline has an all-time supporting cast, including his cousins, future Hall of Fame tag team The Usos. Solo Sikoa is a strong, young, menacing cousin who also threatens Reigns as the alpha. Paul Heyman is a self-proclaimed Juso and portrays a cunning, sleazy wise man who counsels Reigns. Roman Reigns just wants his family to win, but not in a way that upstages Reigns. Reigns even recruited a non-family member, resident red-headed stepchild Sami Zayn. As a fish out of water in the Bloodline who connects with the everyman, fans were able to live vicariously through Zayn as if they were in the Bloodline too. Zayn would follow the Bloodline around like a ginger beagle, desperate for their approval, and it actually worked. Due to persistence and proving his loyalty, even at the expense of his lifelong friendship with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn was Bloodline confirmed. In a heartwarming segment, Roman Reigns ripped Sami's Bloodline t-shirt off and told him never to wear the shirt again. Just when it looked like Sami was about to get got, Roman gave the underdog a new t-shirt, officially making Sami an honorary Uso. Roman Reigns just wants his family and friends to win. But Sami won a bit too much. He got too popular. He became the darling of the Bloodline, and these same fans who rejected Roman Reigns as a babyface fell in love with Sami Zayn. Sami had to go. In an emotional, cinematic scene for the ages, Roman Reigns and the Bloodline eliminated Sami Zayn from the tribe when Zayn refused to let them continue to attack his best friend Kevin Owens. After weeks of bullying, Sami finally stood up to Roman, smacking him in the back with a steel chair. A sold-out Alamo Dome lost its mind, but the moment of joy was short-lived. Everybody in the Bloodline attacked Sami like hyenas. Everybody, that is, except Jey Uso. Let's talk about Jey Uso. Despite being a twin, Jey Uso broke out as the solo star of the Bloodline, no pun intended. It could be argued that Jey Uso is the main character of the Bloodline. This entire storyline started with a feud between Roman and Jey, as Jey rose up the WWE ranks in a way that rubbed Roman the wrong way. Roman just wants his family to win, but when Jey won the opportunity to challenge Roman for the WWE Universal title, the abusive tribal daddy wasn't having it. Roman turned heel when he returned at WWE Payback 2020, but the heel turn was notarized through a pair of matches against Jey, where Reigns unlocked a darker, more aggressive, more vicious, and abusive side, layered with remorse. At WWE Hell in a Cell, Reigns pummeled Jey into oblivion, to the point where his brother Jimmy had to step in, and from that point on, both Usos fell in line, but Jey Uso became like the Raphael of the group, the rebel, the hothead who constantly clashed with the leader. Sami Zayn coming into the Bloodline was Roman's call, and Jey didn't like it, so Jey hated Sami at first. But nobody's impervious to Sami Zayn's jovial charm, so what started out as a contentious relationship became a true brotherhood. Jey went from treating Sami like an outcast to being the Andre 3000 to his big boy. So when Roman Reigns kicked Sami out the Bloodline, Jey refused to be a part of it. This led to tensions between Jey, Roman, and the rest of the Bloodline. Jey fell in line once again when he super kicked Sami against his better judgment, but tensions still lingered. After losing the tag team titles in the main event of WrestleMania 39 to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the Usos got on Roman Reigns' bad side. Roman became salty with the Usos. Roman just wants his family to win, and if they lose, there will be consequences. After the Usos' WrestleMania loss, Reigns became distant with his cousins. He was cold, irritable. He alienated the Usos to the point where Jimmy Uso had had enough. You see, Jimmy Uso is the older twin, and he also has a rebellious streak. In fact, he became the second member of the Bloodline to stand up to Roman when he super kicked the hell out of Roman Reigns at Night of Champions. Bow! This put Jey in a tough spot. Conflicted, Jey had to choose between the Bloodline and his brother, just like Sami. And just like Sami, Jey left the Bloodline. For those keeping score at home, Sami gone, Jimmy gone, and now Jey gone. Jey Uso's departure led to a tribal court segment, which was almost 40 minutes of theater. Not a single match happened on SmackDown until the end of the first hour, and it went on to become the highest rated English show on network TV that week. No wrestling show had ever done that. Not in the Golden Age, not in the Attitude Era, not ever. The piping hot storyline led to a third showdown between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, not only for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, but also for the title of Tribal Chief. In a long, epic match that Jey was on his way to winning, Jimmy Uso once again interfered. But this time, it was to betray his brother. Jimmy felt Jey would be poisoned by the power of Tribal Chief, similar to Roman Reigns. Jey wasn't trying to hear that, so he super kicked the hell out of his twin, laid waste to the rest of the Bloodline, and straight quit WWE.
Listen very carefully. I quit this bitch.
And then there were three. The Bloodline is now down to Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman. Of course, Solo threatens Roman as a young alpha, and tensions have been lingering between the two for months. It's only a matter of time before Solo leaves the island of relevancy, and when he does, I predict that not only will he take Paul Heyman with him, but Heyman himself will orchestrate the final nail in the Mad King's coffin. Roman Reigns just wants his family to win, but so do they, on their terms. It's not too late to see the dramatic final chapters of the Bloodline storyline. Believe me when I say, you'll be glad you did. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Bits, to follow along.